Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Purple People podcast for this week. This week, I have only one Kyle with me. That's one less than the usual amount of Kyles, which I think that's okay. So we got Tommy to step in. So with me this week, Kyle Smith, Tommy Gunn.
What's up, everybody?
I'm pointing at them in the little squares below, but I don't think that's the way it's going to show up in the video. But, oh well, it's all fun and games anyway.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched the video yet, so I have no idea how it looks. I'm scared.
I try not to because I don't like this so much. That's not
That's
so
all right.
great.
You don't have to because the ladies do.
I hope so. Our viewership has not gone up since switching to a video format, so that says something, I guess. But I'd like to welcome
The
everyone.
best-looking radio show host ever.
This one is titled Barr None, and it's been way too long since we've done a show. I believe it's been 10 days or 11 days, something like that. Not good. Not good at all. So
I
we
know
have
everyone's
accumulated
just scratching at their neck.
Yeah. We got a big pile of quick hits this for us. Huge. I don't even know where to start, so top of the list, I guess. Work my way down. So Kevin Patra, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
From the Around the NFL podcast, I don't listen to that. He says of the 13 NFL teams who haven't won a Super Bowl yet, he's picking Minnesota to get it done. Okay? I did not write this
jump
quick
in
hit.
for these. I know.
Is he talking about this year?
I did.
Or just in the future?
It was more along the lines for the future, but to completely go against what I just said, they said if you had to pick one of these teams right now, which one right this second is the most promising? And I like the article. Obviously, I'm going to homer it and say, yeah, I picked Minnesota too. There were obviously teams like the Panthers and the Bengals who are really good too, but they pretty much go around the room with these writers and these guys, the editors and stuff from NFL.com, and they each pick a different one, and I obviously threw his in there. He had a really interesting take. He believes with the new stadium, Adrian Peterson's still having a good year or two left in him, and the defense that Mike Zimmer has built, that this could happen, and that was his reasoning as to why. But, fun fact, those guys on NFL Network and that podcast, they like to poop all over Teddy Bridgewater all the time, but he actually had a lot of good things to say, so I really like that too.
Excellent, excellent. Where were the Detroit Lions on that list? What are their odds of making a Super Bowl?
There were, 12 or 13 teams, and they were near the very bottom.
Oh.
They were number 15.
For all the hardships that the Vikings go through, the fact the Lions have never been to the Big Dance, that's crazy. How does that not happen? I don't know. We've got another quick hit here. We've got Pro Football Focus's 100 best players in the NFL right now list. 4 Minnesota Vikings players on it. Harrison Smith at 29, Barr at 34, Adrian Peterson at 78, and Linval Joseph at 91.
Pretty interesting to see AP being so far down because a lot of people still think of him as the face of the franchise. But I really like the fact that Harrison Smith was up there, especially with the money he just got. I think that number is very fitting.
I'm surprised Peterson made the list at all, to be honest. I didn't think he had that great of a season last year, despite leading the league in rushing.
Well, Pro Football Focus is a what have you done for me lately kind of stat site. So, I mean, it's not like the NFL's top 100 thing where it's kind of an old boys club.
Right.
Which will, the year after Adrian Peterson didn't even play, well, he played one game, they're just like, yeah, top 10 player. Like, oh, okay. But Adrian Peterson did have some pretty good stats. I mean, he wasn't a very well-rounded player, according to Pro Football Focus, but he obviously did have to produce to become the NFL's leading rusher, so that's probably what put him on the list. So
his home runs kind of helped even out the times he was stuffed at the line or had almost no gain, caught in the backfield. And a lot of that may have had to do with offensive line issues. You never know.
That fumble was not his fault. They trained to catch him like that. That was.
All right, up next we have more Pro Football Focus talk where they've listed all the cornerback groups in the NFL, and the Minnesota Vikings ranked number 11. That cornerback group, of course, includes rookie from last year, Trey Waynes, and Xavier Rhodes, Captain Munnerlyn, Terrence Newman. It's a nice mixture of veterans and young guys that are trying to develop, and when you add in Mackenzie Alexander, the rookie, who I personally really love, I had a first-round grade on that kid, so when the Vikings were able to grab him, I was really excited. This is a group that could grow and develop together and really make some noise in the league.
I love it. Yeah. And we got the cornerback whisperer as a coach. Yes.
In a passing league, it's something you gotta have.
When you can combine decent cornerback play with a pass rush, almost anything is possible on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, we have, oh God, how did I add this? I don't want to talk about this. So, former Minnesota Vikings quarterback Tavares Jackson arrested. There are allegations of abuse towards his significant other. He went to court, and he's claiming that he's dead broke and has requested a public defender. So things don't sound very good in the Jackson household.
Better pawn that Super Bowl ring, Tavares.
And yeah, I don't understand how that can happen. I just don't really get it. You never hear stories about T-Jack going and blowing thousands at the strip club, you know?
Which is, they don't have
shocking.
Any
this
kind of...
This is some Johnny Manziel stuff.
What's up? What?
Anybody?
Lag on my end. It sounds like some Johnny Manziel crap, but the dude's been in the league for, what, over a decade? Like, did he just randomly decide, hey, I'm just going to have a mid-career or mid-life crisis? Like, it was really odd to hear his name associated with that. Never heard anything bad about it.
That's very true. And I did read the report. What was it? TMZ, Bleacher Report, whoever put it out. They had like actual photographs of the reports on there. Oh man, there was so much he said, she said, overlapping but not consistent testimony in the police reports. I know there was a gun, I know there was an altercation, and probably everyone was being really stupid about the whole thing, but it just, one of those sad situations where it's just like, it's not going to get better by lying to the police, and it certainly does not look good if you have a public defender, because the public's gunning to go after the NFL players who are even hinted at being abusers or rapists or whatever the allegations are. And, you know, they're gunning for them, so Godspeed to that public defender.
I want to apologize for anyone watching on the live stream. We're having some weird issues as far as like the backgrounds being all jumbly, and it's just visually not appealing. I mean, typically with my face on there, not appealing really anyway. But with the glitches, it's just getting worse and worse. I know you guys can still hear us properly, which is great. So I hope that that's what you guys are focusing on and not the cool, trippy effects. Your computer did not take some mushrooms and freak out. Everything's all right. Hopefully it'll fix up for you as we go along. Fingers crossed.
It's all Tommy's fault, as usual.
That darn Tommy.
I wore my Marcus Sherrill's hat, so.
Up next, we have Duron Carter, the son of Chris Carter, who plays in the CFL. Caught a pretty sweet touchdown catch. I got to admit, that was a nice catch. Reeled it in, went to the ground, and then proceeded to go over to the opponent's sideline and shoulder bump their coach, knocking him to the ground, and then take a little lap through their team, which was not great. Duron Carter, folks.
Man.
I wanted him on the team so bad.
Yep.
So bad.
I was going to bring that up. Oh, that's all right. He's doing big things up there in the north. So we just let him.
Oh, he's
That was
making
interesting.
waves.
You're right. That was a good catch. Afterward, I don't know.
I don't know. What happened to the days in the old days? You used to make a huge play. You'd hand the ref the football, go on over to your sideline, celebrate with your boys. That's the way it should be. I mean, even if you got a dab or grab a cell phone out of your sock and pretend to take a selfie or something, I don't care. Yeah, just don't go and knock people on, especially coaches. You know, did you see that little coach just fold?
Hey, that fall would make any NBA player proud.
It would.
Or soccer, if you enjoy that.
Went right down. So in the past, the Minnesota Vikings have been making fun of a lot of teams and sites that use analytics and that use Pro Football Focus for some of their metrics and things like that. Well, apparently the Vikings are changing their tune a little bit because they have made Scott Kuhn, one of their scouts, the director of analytics for the team. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to go through, they're going to get information about players in free agency or the draft, and they'll have that extra information available for them for the draft and other situations. What they choose to do with that information is up to them, whether they'll still rely on the eye test or whatnot. But at least they're kind of acknowledging that, hey, okay, this analytics is a pretty big movement in sports right now. We should probably get on board.
I know analytics
like it a
can
lot.
be extremely useful, especially in scouting when you can't always watch every player potentially, but you can see how this player reacts to other ones. So it's like, is this wide receiver really good, or is he just going against 5'9" college quarterbacks? So it can show stuff a little bit more than Mike Zimmer's eye test can show. Because Moritz Oranger looked great against the other players in the German league. However, he also kind of looked like that kid in youth football who hit puberty about 2 years before everybody else did. So it's kind of like that. So that's what the metrics and analysis would allow you to do. Like, is this player good? Is this player bad? Or has he just had a run of luck against this kind of player? So I think it's a good move for the Vikings
they want to
overall.
use that information to try to figure out, like, a player who plays in a tough football conference compared to, like, a Division II player. Trying to figure out how these players compare because they're not up against the same level of competition and that sort of thing. They want to try to even out the playing field for those guys in order to make their decisions.
Right.
Makes sense.
Because stats are unbiased, I know the first time I really got into this was, like 2014 when Matt Khalil was really suffering. Someone actually went through and compared his rookie season versus who they were playing, and compared the defensive line and defensive scheme to what he did, and they found out that Khalil's rookie season, he had a huge run of average defensive ends he played against, which landed him in the Pro Bowl, I think. Did he make the Pro Bowl that year? He was really good, his rookie season. And then the next year, the defensive ends had much better years, were much better, and so he slowly began his decline. But I think it was mostly just that he was more average than what we had originally thought. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting perspective on it, which you wouldn't see just
That's
with
very
the
well said.
eye test. All you saw was Matt Khalil going downhill, but it wasn't really just that he was going downhill. There was more to it than that.
Up next, we have the sad news about the passing of Buddy Ryan. He was a defensive line coach for the Minnesota Vikings. He's also pretty well known for being part of that Eagles organization that made the decision to cut Chris Carter when he was having all those problems with drugs and the like.
It's a tough thing to do. I listened to it today. I don't know if it was Mike and Mike or something else. I was listening to either the podcast, like how things like this actually help players. You know, it's got to be tough getting rid of somebody like that. God knows we're going to talk about him a lot in the offseason. A couple of years we're on the verge of saying, get him out. Maybe it'll help, but you know, it's a wake-up call to some people, and it's kind of a blessing in disguise for the Vikings, not so much for the Eagles, but he came here and had a hell of a career with us, so I think it was great. He was awesome, too. I love his quotes about quarterbacks. Buddy Ryan was pretty big badass. You know, I like that, his grittiness most of all.
Carter did credit being cut with one of his major decisions to clean up and start focusing more on football. And for a lot of people, they do need that wake-up call. We've seen it recently, too, with guys like Josh Gordon's suspension, Johnny Manziel, even legal issues like Ray Rice, who will never play in the NFL again. And these are talented guys who have issues off the field that are keeping them from playing football where they are immensely talented. And for Chris Carter, instead of letting his issues keep him off the football field, he took that one cut and said, I will not let this happen to me or my family, made the decision to improve his lifestyle, came to the Vikings, and ended up in the Hall of Fame. People make mistakes. They learn to grow from them, and they learn to change from them. Either that, or they just go down with them. One of the two.
Mm-hmm. And for any casual football fans, Buddy Ryan is credited with revolutionizing defenses. Like every defensive system that you see nowadays has its links back to Buddy Ryan. You know, in the days of the Purple People Eaters, you just had guys who would create pressure, but Buddy Ryan's system would essentially engineer pressure. So that made it very different, and this man should be in the Hall of Fame just for that. And, you know, on a homer kind of note, thank you, Buddy Ryan. We appreciate that cut. So
yeah, he had his fingerprints on nearly every defensive scheme in the league. If you name it, he probably impacted it in some way, whether it was a formation, a player assignment, or something. It's a big loss for the league because of what he has contributed and his connections to the game the way it is now. But we do thank him for his time in Minnesota, and we love that the team was the beneficiary of the Chris Carter cut. And his legacy will live on throughout the defenses in the NFL and the legacies that he left behind in the league itself.
Got to give a quick shout out to his family too. You know, Rex and Rob, I know they're probably hurting right now, and then they'll have sons that they'll talk about. But families, man, I hope they're doing well. I'm going to send a quick, hey, we're thinking about you. I think it's pretty cool when you have football families like that just keep the legacy going, because those guys are definitely defensive guys themselves. So go figure, you know who they learned it from.
Absolutely. Up next is one that I'm actually really excited about. The U.S. Bank Stadium got a new public address announcer, Alan Roach. And if you're not familiar with Alan Roach, you might not know the name, but you have probably heard him millions of times. Millions. Super Bowls. He's worked at the Denver Broncos, baseball games, just all over the world. His voice is absolutely booming, and he'll be handling those player intros and everything. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to hear him announcing that new stadium and just have his voice booming around everybody. He should be able to hype everyone up. I'm thrilled that he was the one that took the job to be the new announcer.
They got a video on him on the Vikings app and Vikings.com, so you guys check that out. I actually watched it today because I got kind of confused. I was like, he's the new voice voice. They got rid of Paul Allen. Once I realized who he was, like you said, I recognized his voice from other things. I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. So there's actually a clip on there about him, so go check that out.
Awesome video on the Viking age, too, of a lot of his past projects, especially the Super Bowl halftimes, announcing those, some concerts, things like that. Olympics as well, a lot of great things. A lot of great things. Excited to have him with the team.
I'd let him narrate my life.
It would be great. A lot of people want Morgan Freeman. We'll take Alan Roach. Antone Exum hosted the Bravehearts football camp down at Deep Run High School in Virginia. It was a really cool way to get the kids involved, get them active, bring in some NFL players, kind of coach and mentor them along the way. It wasn't as hardcore football focused as it was about getting kids having fun, being active, being social, which is something in these day and age, a lot of kids struggle to get that kind of play 60 stuff done. So anytime Antone Exum get kids interested in a sport or get them out running, having fun, talking with other people, meeting some NFL pros, fantastic stuff.
That's awesome.
I concur.
Up next, we got the Minnesota Vikings and other fans in Minnesota were not seen as being very happy campers, according to an ESPN fan ranking, where they found out, according to an index that they created using numbers, those numbers never lie, that the fans of men's sports in Minnesota are the third most miserable in the United States. Now, this includes the major sports as well as some of the other minor sports, but does not include the WNBA because absolutely nothing does, because I don't know why. Women's sports matter. These women are dominating. They have 3 championships in the last 5 years. I get it that the WNBA isn't as popular as the NBA or the NFL or hockey, things like that. I understand that totally. But too many of these articles are completely dismissing what these ladies are accomplishing, and it gets on my nerves so badly. It does. I can't even read articles like that without just getting all steamed up. Not good.
I would love to go on a tirade in the same vein and defend the WNBA, but man, I can't do basketball. I don't do the basketball at all. It's not entertaining. I'm sorry. So I can do it in spurts. Be like, oh, yeah, that was good. That was a top 10 Sports Center highlight for sure. But beyond that,
That's how I watch baseball. The highlights on ESPN. I'm not tuning into a whole game. Forget that.
You read my mind, Adam. I was going to say I can handle a basketball game. Baseball puts me to sleep. Sorry, I want to dedicate my my fandom to the Twins, but it's just baseball as a whole. Unless you're at the game with a beer and a hot dog, I just can't get into it on TV. So I totally hear you there. But it is
even at
crappy,
the game, I couldn't do it.
The one, it's kind of crappy. Like, you have one aspect of Minnesota sports teams, professional sports teams at that, and they get no credit. Feminists out there, here's your chance. Make some noise. Make them stop writing these articles.
You notice every article I write about it, I write men's sports. Because I'm not going to say sports in Minnesota, because that ain't right. That ain't right. It's not like the Vikings are a bad team that have made fans, absolutely delusionally upset over the last couple years. I mean, it's been quite a while in the past that Vikings fans have had their misery. And yeah, the Twins are absolutely horrible, and the Wild may have missed their opportunity along the way here, and they probably have to rebuild again.
I heard they made some splashes in free agency today, but
check
they picked up a guy named Stahl. Apparently, he was a big pickup, but other than that, the window's closed. They already let Vanek go. They bought out his contract. Anywho,
not pretty.
It's like the Wild have not won anything. This, back when the Stars were in town, they did not win anything. We had two stellar pitchers and a decent hitting lineup when the Twins won the World Series. It was like a 2 out of 5 pitcher rotation. But this was back when pitchers would consistently be out there for 9 innings more often than not. And then we know the Vikings, the 50-plus years of sadness.
A lot of heartbreak along the way there.
Technically, the Lakers did quite well. The Minneapolis Lakers, because
they did.
No lakes in L.A.
But that was about 60 years ago.
Yes, it was. And the Timberwolves. Surprisingly, they did very well the first 10 years they were in the league. They would always get the 8th seed. I don't know how that happened.
I like the youth that the Timberwolves are bringing in. They could have a really fun future happening there.
Kind of cool watching that. They're on the rise.
Yeah. But I think
between
right now
them and the Twins to get it. Yeah, Vikings are definitely there.
Speaking of watching the Vikings,
be honest.
Go and watch the Vikings at US Bank Stadium. They're going to have some new rules in place. Now, US Bank Stadium is the first stadium that has those doors that open on the side of the building to let air in. Well, it turns out that the Vikings won't be able to make the decision to open and close them on a whim. They'll have to follow the same rules that the stadiums with retractable roofs follow. So they'll have to make a decision prior to the game whether or not it's going to be open or closed for the duration of the entire game. So there's no, if it gets stuffy opening it up, that's not happening. Or if it gets really beautiful outside and you want to let some fresh air in, can't do that.
Yeah. When I first saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's so unfair."
Piss everyone off. They need to just piss everyone off. We'll keep them closed through the summer, and then when it's freezing outside, we'll just keep them open the whole time.
I love it. That's pretty much what it's going to amount to. Is in the winter the doors are going to be closed and all heat's going to be in there. In the summer they're going to open it up. Let the breeze in the early fall whatever. But honestly, I'm worried that this is going to turn it into more of just like a standard stadium, and that feature won't be used like it should be or is able to be because of this rule. I understand that they don't want them opening it up when there's a big gust of wind, when another team is trying to kick a field goal in that direction or something. I get that. Or to put the wind at the team's back for an advantage. I understand. But
that's what I had. I had two things for that, and that was one of them. The reason why they're doing it is exactly what you said. You don't want to have an advantage where right before the kicker is about to go for the other team to maybe tie it up at halftime, we just open it. It's a big distraction. But if you go and watch the other video, it's on the Vikings website. They had some of the players walk through, and I think it's like a recycled video because I've already seen Everson say this already. But Everson Griffin's like, if anybody can find a home field advantage with these doors opening, it's going to be Mike Zimmer. I guarantee it. So it'd be pretty interesting to see because I'm sure there's some guy in a room underneath the stadium in a closet somewhere that'll be like, this guy knows how to get home field advantage and this and that, and they'll figure it out. But I think it's kind of lame. I wish they would just leave them open every single game. If it was me,
if you didn't go on that place, would be insane.
So yeah, well, the biggest door is 90 feet. That's 9 stories tall. So I mean, it's not like these are little side doors that kind of open for the nice little breeze. This is a really big deal. So yeah. I can understand where the NFL is coming from. Do I like it? No. But
well, the Vikings will be petitioning to hopefully have them change that rule so that the rules to the roofs of stadiums don't apply to the sides of buildings, and they can kind of make up their own rules based on that. Because let's face it, US Bank Stadium is going to have a lot of firsts as far as NFL stadiums, and there will be adjustments to the rules based on the changes that are being made to the stadiums. It's going to happen. It happens when anything's revolutionized. So fingers crossed that they can get the NFL to take a look at that and maybe if not change it, then find ways to adjust the rule so that it can be open during halftime or something like that. Just to air out the stadium or something. But I'm sure that in the future they'll come to some kind of compromise. But for now, this season, for this season at least, they'll have to follow the rules for the retractable roofs. Now, here's a fun one for you guys that like watching the old Vikings games on YouTube. In the past, a lot of the videos that go up on YouTube of Vikings games are unauthorized. They get taken down pretty fast. NFL is really touchy about their copyrighted material. I don't really understand why, but you'd think they'd want everybody out there sharing everything football they can, but instead they really put a limit on what is available out there. Now, they put up a vote.
They are a non-profit organization, so got to keep your funds where you can get them.
That's true. So they put up a vote as to which 4 Minnesota Vikings games should be put up on YouTube in their entirety for fans to watch, and these are the 4 that were picked, and they will be eventually moved up to YouTube for fans to watch whenever they like. It was the 2012 Week 17 Packers versus Vikings. Adrian Peterson went over 2,000 yards in this game. They beat Green Bay to earn a playoff berth and kept the Packers from clinching home field. It was the 1998 Thanksgiving game with the Vikings against the Cowboys. Randy Moss, 3 catches, 163, and 3 touchdowns, if you remember that one.
Oh, good times.
1987, Vikings 49ers. Minnesota goes into Candlestick and they beat the heavily favored 49ers, who everybody believed was a Super Bowl contender that year. And I've only got 3 on here, I think. Well, that's not right. Oh well. Those are the ones I've written down, so that's good enough.
Hey, I'll take them.
I like good enough.
Hey,
if you're curious about more about them, my co-editor on the Viking Age, Dan, wrote a nice big article about all these games heading to YouTube. Check it out. And our final quick hit, which we've been going through, feels like we've been quick hitting for like 40 minutes now.
Oh, yeah.
But we got the supplemental draft coming up. 6 players are declared eligible. Ole Miss cornerback T. Shepard, Virginia Tech long snapper Eddie D'Antno, Purdue defensive lineman Razan Howard, Sam Houston State running back Jalen Overstreet, wide receiver Rashawn Simonese of Calgary, Canada, and Concordia defensive end Cameron Walton. As with most supplemental drafts, I don't expect a lot of these guys to get taken or really have big wagers put on their stock there. T. Shepard is a really interesting prospect because physically he can get it done, but there's a lot of drama going on about he is a deaf player, and he said that when he left Ole Miss, that the reason he was getting less playing time there is because of his hearing impairment, and that didn't go very well between the college and the player, and I'm not sure how much of that is just overall drama, but he's got a lot of skills, and I bet some team may take a chance on him. I don't think it'll be in the supplemental draft. I believe it will be in free agency afterwards. I don't know if any of these guys are going to get a player putting in a draft pick to try to get them. So I hope they do. I hope all these guys make it to the NFL and end up on some team competing, but that's not the way it works. It's like when you go to the pound and you want to bring all the animals home. I want them all. But no,
that's probably why I should never win the lottery, because I should definitely do that.
Have to buy a separate house just for all your pets. Doesn't work out well that way.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be perfect.
We were going to do a main topic of talking about whether or not veterans should be required to attend training camp because of the whole Adrian Peterson, training camp's a waste of time thing, but I don't feel like talking about that, so I'm not going to do that.
That's fair.
I'll just say fair. Yes, they should, and I'll move on.
Yes and no. So there, completely. There's a hot take for you. Take it to the bank.
Yep, that one was hot with the 2 T's. like Kid Rock. So hot.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's one of the worst songs ever, and that was a great reference.
Oh, it's bad. It's really bad.
It's so bad. I'm so glad that was a part of the show.
So for this week's social media question, we asked you guys to describe the Minnesota Vikings in 5 words or less. Not a lot of love for this question on social media. Was hoping for more of answers, but what can you do? We've got Mike Leonard says this year's team to beat. He's pretty optimistic. Brandon Ellis says straight cash, homie. That's 3 words. That's less than 5. Well played.
Kudos.
Thomas Buge says young Bucks on the rise. I like that. I like that a lot. Corbin Johnson says 2017 Super Bowl champion team. He's looking at 2017. I like that. I like that. I definitely wouldn't complain if the Vikings brought home a Super Bowl in 2017.
But does he mean the Super Bowl in 2017 or the Super Bowl for the 2017 season?
See, that's where the NFL gets weird because you got the 2016 NFL season. Then you got the Super Bowl played in 2017. I don't know.
Because, I mean, I've been waiting. I want it now. I want it sooner than that. But having it at home.
Who likes calendars anyway? Screw calendars.
True story.
Tommy Gunn says an exercise in tempered expectations. John's like that one. Well done. And if you ever feel the need to do some reading, Tommy Gunn has a nice book discussing a description of the Minnesota Vikings in 5 words or less, which I don't know if you're prepared to read it.
I don't know if I could pull it up on my phone, but you definitely have to read it in a British accent. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, it is quite a lengthy dissertation, as it says.
I tagged him in a comment today about the wide receivers, and he wrote a book. It was so funny. I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna love this," and he just broke it down.
Yeah.
It was good though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How would I? Oh no! Click that. Not that.
Oh no.
I'm getting a slight delay because we're live streaming, and I'm trying to. Oh, really?
Nah, you don't need to read it. People that want to read it can head on over to the Facebook page and check it out. Now you got some cool sideways action going on. There we go.
Yeah,
But
my bad.
we currently don't have a social media question for next week. Mr. Kyle Smith is our genius at coming up with these, so he'll handle that.
Yes.
He's got this all under control. I believe we have a bold statement to end the show.
I'm really excited because we got to cut the main topic out, so we didn't have to complain about Adrian like I would have loved to. So now we can say something kind of cool. You love him. You can love him. You can hate him all you want. The guy produces. I listened to it today. Still considered the all-around best back in the NFL, even though he has a lot of areas that he struggles in or could be improved. I will say it now, and I could take my paycheck this month to the bank on it, barring an injury, which is not going to happen. Adrian Peterson is going to be all the way up to number 8 on the all-time rushing list after the season. For this feat right now, I believe he's at 17th. I don't have the notes up in front of me. He's in the teens, the latter teens right now. He's going to go all the way up to number 8 all-time. He only needs 1,200 yards to do this. I personally think he's going to get over 1,200 yards this season because he's AP, and we've upgraded the line. But just playing it safe, looking at the fact that he's 31, maybe it'll finally catch up to him. I took about 250 yards off of what he got last year, give or take, 250 to 300 from what he had last year. And I'm 100% confident that he's going to get 1,200 yards. That's like having if we were, I don't know, the Jaguars, hey, our running back's going to get 600 yards this season. It's pretty cool that we've got to say that for the longest time. 1,200 yards doesn't sound like much for AP, but that's my bold statement of the week. You can take that to the bank.
So you discounted for injury, but how about legal problems?
Really?
I hope those days are behind him. I really hope those days are well past us.
Really? But really?
I had to.
We still have almost 4 weeks, 4 more weeks for that to happen. So anything's possible. God knows this is the time of the year when that crazy nonsense happens. bunch of suspensions came out today for other teams too. It's nuts. Hopefully we're not on that list.
Speaking of
I
other
think
teams,
the last legal issue the Vikings had was Tom Johnson's tasing, right?
oh jeez,
I think so.
That was quite a while ago, so I'm liking this. I can work with it.
I'm sure Zimmer's loving it too.
I'm sure he has a subtle hand too in keeping these players out of trouble. I'm sure he's got something going on there.
oh, I meant to bring this up with one of the prior quick hits with the PFF's top 100. I saw it tweeted out, but the Vikings since 2009 have drafted the most Pro Bowl players in the NFL.
Ooh.
Just below with 9. And granted, that does count Cordell Patterson. But
Right.
a win's a win. Then right below them is Seattle. Then right below them is Carolina. And I think it's like Cincinnati. And I know Dallas is the number 5 on the list. So
Now, does this count players initially brought into the Pro Bowl, or does this count replacements as well?
I think a Pro Bowl is a Pro Bowl, that kind of thing. So
Replacements count?
I guess. I'm not sure.
I gotta admit, they worked pretty far down the depth chart there on some of those Pro Bowl replacements.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on that, that's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to end up with here?
What about you, Tommy? You got something good for us?
Actually, I do have one observation which someone else made, that everyone knows how the wide receivers for the Vikings have been pretty subpar for the last few years.
Yep.
Apparently for the rest of the NFC North, they're kind of all terrible or unproven. Like Calvin Johnson retired. We don't know how well. Jordy Nelson's coming back. Alshon Jeffrey is Alshon Jeffrey when he's healthy. But beyond that, we don't know anything about them. Well, Randall Cobb.
Lions got a pretty good assortment of wide receivers, though. Some veterans there, some wily guys. I think
Golden Tate, so they might have the best wide receiver core, but it's not by leaps and bounds.
You guys are
like
forgetting
it once
a key
was.
player in the NFC North for Chicago. You know who comes back this year that's going to give us a fit, I think? Kevin White.
Oh, yeah.
Overall 8th pick last year. I think he's going to be a stud, and it really sucks because sometimes Jay Cutler knows how to quarterback, and sometimes it just happens to be against us. I don't know. I don't like that.
I'm sorry, you said overdrafted at number 8? Is that what I heard?
Hey, we know. That's the crappy part about it. We know nothing about this kid yet. That's what sucks.
And if there's one thing we know with
the radar,
Jay Cutler is not afraid to throw a football up in the air and see if a wide receiver can come down with it.
I just know he was an unknown or a second round until the combine, and they're like, oh, he's really fast. Okay, good. Well, so is Troy Williamson. So color me unimpressed. So.
Like I said, we're going to wait to see what he does on the football field, but the kid does have some potential. Let's see if he can realize it's that potential, man. Cordell Patterson's got potential. We're hearing good things about him this year, but can he realize that potential that we're hearing?
Improvement.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, so here's a potential social media question. I think it was Dan Zinski on the Viking Age. He did a few articles like who the top players on offense and defense who are likely to be traded would be.
No, that was one of our new writers that we just signed on a couple weeks ago, and he did a fantastic job.
Okay. Dan is really the only one I remember, other than you. Adam.
Well, thank you.
But the Vikings roster is pretty loaded, and so we have an opportunity to trade players. And it's like it's not one of those things you look forward to, but who would you be willing to trade or part ways with?
Not even let you finish
it comes
the
back
question.
to that. Well, no, that was it. Who would you be willing to trade, and what would you want to get for him? And don't be like, I'd trade, Newman for Tom Brady or something like. Let's make it realistic.
Trade Peterson for Thomas Rawls.
Oh.
I'd trade Cordero Patterson for a 5th round right now, and I'd let Stephon Diggs do the kickoff returns. What up?
Wow. Bold statement.
We're just full of it tonight. That's not
you
good.
asked.
And the nice thing is that this is far enough in the podcast that no one's going to hear it anyway. So
Oh, no.
everybody would have given up by now.
Everybody's asleep by now.
Kyle West isn't on this exit window.
We can definitely get him in on next week's show, hopefully, and maybe we'll get his opinion. He's kind of stingy with opinions, that guy. We got to get him some bold takes. That's what we got to do. But on that
We
note,
gotta find something that fires him up. When he gets going, it's hilarious.
We have Mr. Kyle Smith has his YouTube channel up and kicking. He's got a couple new videos up on there, I believe.
I do. I'm rounding out this deployment. I'll be home soon, but throwing out new covers out there, and hopefully once I get this move going, if everything lines up, we'll put some originals out there. It's youtube.com/C as in Charlie /Cal Smith, KOWSMIFF for my ghetto name. It's my street name. Don't ever forget it.
There you
Now
go.
check it out. If you like them, if you have social media, you can share them. If you have any requests, shoot them. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. I appreciate it.
Olivia Newton-John, let's
Miley
get physical.
Cyrus.
Do it.
Oh, man, both of you at the same time. But you know what I heard out of both of you at the same time? Wrecking Ball, Miley Cyrus. I got you.
Hey, I asked for that a while ago and you didn't do it.
I'm just waiting on the right pair of underwear to come in because that's a good music video shoot.
You got the white room all set for it there.
Oh my gosh.
Just swing on by.
True.
Tommy, I don't know if you have anything you want to promote.
No, not yet. I'm hoping to start getting my music channel up and going again, but working
Yes.
9 p.m. to 6 a.m. is not easy. So.
But people can follow you on Twitter.
Oh, I have something else, by the way. I have something very important. Really, really, I'm sorry to keep interrupting. I know we have a lag to, so it didn't help. Right now, where I'm at, it is 2 a.m. Saturday, so it'll be July 2nd soon. Probably a lot of people will hear it on the 2nd. July 4th is this weekend. Please, all of you, even if you're not a Vikings fan, if you somehow stumbled upon this, but especially to our faithful listeners, have fun, celebrate Independence Day. Please be smart. Don't drink and drive. Have a plan. Remember your fireworks, safety. Tommy knows right now I'm giving like the military side of everything because I'm just safetying it up right now. But be careful, but be responsible this weekend. Piggyback. Yes. Absolutely. Be safe and have fun. And if you're into adult beverages, have one for me because I can't.
I haven't looked into it, but I think there are a few places that will do free sober cabs, certain places. I'm not sure where those are or who they are, but I know like USA, or not USA, but AAA, they did, for New Year's, they did a free ride anywhere where they come tow your car home if you had been drinking on New Year's Eve. So I'm guessing something like that will happen again, but...
And even if it's not free, that little bit of money that you're going to spend taking a cab or calling an Uber home is well worth, maybe you'll get in an accident, your insurance rates will go up, you'll hurt somebody, maybe even kill somebody. You never know what can happen. So seriously, play it safe, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to be the dad of the show, but happy 4th of July, everybody. We'll see you after that one. But Adam's got to plug this awesome website.
I got a
What is
couple
it
awesome
called?
websites to plug here. We got the VikingAge.com, which I don't have my cool little graphic below because I'm on the main account. If I hit the graphic button, I'd get Kyle West's information. And although KyleWestPhotography.com is fantastic, it's not my work, but you should still check it out. My work is over on the VikingAge.com, where I'm constantly writing about the Vikings. I got Undead Walking Dead information constantly. We got Comic-Con coming up, and that's going to be huge for all the Minnesota Vikings stuff going on. No, it won't. Walking Dead stuff. There we go. It's going to be big for all the Walking Dead stuff. We're going to get some big announcements. We got the trailer. We got a premiere date for Season 7. We're going to have all that cool stuff going on. So join us over on Undead Walking for that. Like us on Facebook. Got the Purple People Podcast Facebook group. We got @Purple People Pod on Twitter. And remember to stay classy, Minnesota.